What's going on YouTube? Bacon here bringing you another video. This one gonna be my week 5 battle for the MWPA. Apologies for a little bit of a delay. My mic actually died last week and I had to get a new one. But hopefully this one sounds just as good, if not better, than the old microphone. And hopefully we don't have any more equipment issues going forward. So yeah. Without further delay, we'll get into the matchup for this week. This week we're facing off against Lunar, coach of the United Kingdra. He's sitting at 3-1 coming into this game, and we are at 4-0. So this game's actually pretty big for playoff seeding and all that going forward. Of course, in this season of the MWPA, there's only an 8-game regular season, so we're actually halfway through at this point. And every win counts in terms of making playoffs, in terms of seeding. Only 4 teams out of the 10 in the division actually make the playoffs anyways. So definitely trying to pick up a win here for sure. And what I think is kind of a difficult matchup. We'll get right into his team. He's got available the Tapu Koko, Kyurem Black, Victini, Ferrothorn, Hawlucha, Mandibuzz, Nidoqueen, Silvally, Lycanroc Midday, Mega Blastoise, and a Selgor. So a couple things just looking at the matchup on paper. Kokolucha is extremely difficult for my team to deal with. Tapu Koko itself is always, enough of a problem alone, but Hawlucha can pretty much 6-0 my entire team. Like, if I brought a team of 6 standard kind of sets on my Mons, if Hawlucha got to +2, I just lose. If I brought just like standard type sets. So definitely trying to not have that happen. So definitely a lot of prep that went into trying to stop Kokolucha. Kyurem Black is also a huge problem. A couple different sets that you could run versus me that would be pretty effective. Victini is just a monster. It's difficult to switch into. And yeah, like I feel like he could have brought all 11 or any of his 11 Pokemon and done well this game, which makes for a really difficult matchup in general, because I felt like a few things on my team were just definite do not brings. Like Tapu Bulu, I felt like didn't make a whole lot of sense this game with things like Victini, Kyurem Black, Hawlucha running around, Nidoqueen, like all that stuff made it kind of to bring Tapu Bulu. Muck I didn't think had a good matchup. Latios, Ribombi, Conk I guess had an okay matchup. I could have brought Conk. But otherwise I felt like pretty locked into 6 or 7 Mons with this prep, which is never a good thing, of course. But yeah, let's get right into what I built. So we brought the Heatran here, which is Leftovers Heatran with Stealth Rock, Earth Power, Lava Plume, and Roar. So the idea behind the Heatran here is that Stealth Rock, of course, chips down his team quite nicely. Things like Kyurem Black, Victini, whatever, Stealth Rock. Lava Plume is just good for spraying burns. I felt like Magma Storm didn't make a whole lot of sense here, especially given that things like Ferrothorn could be running Protect, wasting off PP. I'd rather make sure I'm able to reliably check Ferrothorn over the course of the match with Lava Plume, and it's 100% accurate in addition to the 30% burn chance. Earth Power hits things like Nidoqueen, Tapu Koko, Victini specifically are all weak to Earth Power, and then Roar is there specifically to prevent Hawlucha from setting up in my face. Lava Plume only does about 40-45% to Hawlucha, depending on his investment, so, 45 or 50% depending on his investment, but Roar at least ensures that I can get it out of my face if he starts to SD or something like that, and I don't have to say, well, I guess I need to burn him. That's not really a reliable thing to count on there. Running close to max HP, close to max speed, Timid Nature. I can actually live a Z Focus Blast from Victini if he opts to go that route. But yeah, this is just kind of my general switch into Victini, and also my general switch in, quote unquote, to Kyurem Black. Obviously, if he's carrying Earth Power, that's no longer the case. But at least this is a 4 times Ice Resist to help protect things like my Mega Aerodactyl in the back. Speaking of Mega Aerodactyl, we got Mega Aerodactyl once again coming with Stone Edge, Earthquake, Fire Fang, and Pursuit. It's just really hard to find a game where Mega Aerodactyl is not a good bring because it's just so damn fast. Mega Aerodactyl I felt like had another good matchup here. It's a great offensive check to Kyurem Black, and really the only one that I have on this team. Stone Edge just hits his team incredibly hard, good stab. Earthquake hits the same things that Earth Power hit from Heatran. Fire Fang is there specifically for the Ferrothorn. It should do about 80% to the standard kind of mixed defense Ferrothorn that's running around OU. And Pursuit's actually kind of a nice tech there for Victini. If he's not Choice Scarf Victini, I can predict him to switch out with a Pursuit. And instead of clicking Stone Edge, I can at least get some big damage off with Pursuit if he switches out. If he does switch out as I go for Pursuit, I should do about 75 to 80%, which would put him in range of a Stealth Rock switch in later in the game, which would obviously be very good for me. And getting damage on Victini in general is just really good in the long run. And I believe, I'm not certain, but I believe with the HP investment I have, I can actually live a Choice Scarf Bolt Strike from Victini. Not certain on that, but I think that's the case. Because I only had to creep Tapu Koko here, so I'm actually running Jolly Nature, only 96 in speed, and the rest dumped into attack and HP. Next up here is Thick the Mamoswine, bringing in some more Hawlucha prep with Focus Sash, Mamoswine, Thick Fat, Earthquake, Icicle Crash, Ice Shard, and Superpower. The dual stab on Mamo is pretty standard. Superpower hits things like Cure and Black and Ferrothorn a little bit harder, though obviously at the cost of my attack and defense stats. Focus Sash is there primarily, like I said, to deal with the Hawlucha. If my Focus Sash is intact, I can't get swept by Hawlucha, assuming, of course, knock on wood, I hit an Icicle Crash. So Icicle Crash into Ice Shard should KO pretty much every variant of Hawlucha at +1. If he's bulk up or something weird like that, I think he might be able to live Crash into Shard. I'm not certain if he's +2 if he'd live Crash into Shard, but basically just not trying to let Hawlucha set up in the first place, but also having kind of this safety relief valve in the back with Mamoswine. Next up here is Richard Parker the Raikou. So we got Expert Belt Raikou here with Thunderbolt, HP Fire, Extra Sensory, and Volt Switch. HP Fire is there specifically to hit the Ferrothorn, which as you can see unfortunately did not come. Extra Sensory is there to hit specifically the Nidoqueen, which unfortunately did not come. And then in general after that, it's spamming electric moves in electric terrain is just good versus team. I was considering bringing Aura Sphere Raikou, and maybe I should have at that, but unfortunately Aura Sphere Raikou has to be Rash Nature, which is plus special attack minus speed def, so not only would I not be able to outspeed the Lycanroc depending on his investment, I also wouldn't be able to take as many hits from Tapu Koko as I otherwise would have liked to. So I felt like in the long run, I took the good with the bad of running Timid still, and not taking the speed drop or the defense drop. But of course, not being able to run Aura Sphere really cost me in terms of like the Lycanroc and the Kyurem Black, as we see in the match. Next up, we've got Yikes the Staraptor coming to its first game of the season. We're wearing Choice Scarf Staraptor with Intimidate, Brave Bird, Defog, Final Gambit, and U-Turn. So this is max HP Staraptor, close to max B, but the rest dumped into physical attack. The idea is basically just to Final Gambit something like, even if I am out turn 1 versus Koko or something like that, he should see my Intimidate go first, unless he's Choice Scarf Koko, which would be good information for me to know as well. But yeah, you should see my Intimidate go first. But there's a couple things that could happen in that instance. He might see Intimidate and think, oh, well, Choice Scarf Staraptor can't knock me out with Double Edge unless it's Reckless, which is true. Or he might just go into something like Ferrothorn, fearing out Double Edge anyway. And Final Gambiting, either of those two things would have been phenomenal for me. I could Final Gambit Nidoqueen, I could Final Gambit Blastoise, I could really Final Gambit just Amon. Depending on his Kyurem Black spread, I could Final Gambit that too. Even if I do Final Gambit a Kyurem Black and he's got more HP than me, getting off a lot of damage on that thing would still be pretty valuable, I think, in the long run. But yeah, Final Gambit is basically just there. Staraptor is basically just here in general as a kind of sack type mon, with Final Gambit as kind of the primary way I'd like to use it, but also Scarf Defog if I have to get rid of rocks for my Mamoswine to come in freely later in the game, or Scarf Brave Bird for the wholly unlikely event of a late game clean with Choice Scarf Staraptor. But Intimidate sack or Defog sack is basically what I'm probably thinking is going to happen with Staraptor coming into this match. Final Gambit, of course, is the ideal. Last up here, we've got Jelly Belly the Tentacruel. So Tentacruel I actually picked up a couple weeks ago for Jellicent, which never came to a game, and this is actually the first game that Tentacruel's come to in the 2 weeks that I've had it. Is it 3 weeks now? It might be 3 weeks that I've had it now. But first game that Tentacruel's come to either way. Black Sludge, Liquid Ooze, Rapid Spin, Scald, Toxic Spikes, and Sludge Bomb. Max Fizz Def Tentacruel here, pretty standard set in general from the Tentacruel. Even Max Fizz Def is a pretty reliable check to Mega Blastoise. Toxic Spikes are just really nice to wear down his team, particularly things like Kyurem Black, Victini, Tapu Koko, Mega Blastoise. Really all do not appreciate Toxic Spikes being up. And Rapid Spin's there. It's a secondary hazard removal option, or really the primary hazard removal option on the team, with the Defog on Staraptor being secondary, just to make sure that there are no rocks on the field by the time my Mamoswine has to come in. So that's it for the teams. Let's get right into the match. As you can see, he brought Tapu Koko, Hawlucha, Mega Blastoise, Silvally, Kyurem Black, and Lycanroc. So a couple things I wasn't expecting here. I was expecting to see Kokolucha, Kyurem Black, and Blastoise, but I wasn't expecting the Silvally and the Lycanroc. I was thinking something like Victini plus Ferrothorn or something like that would end up showing up, but or Nidoqueen maybe. But unfortunately, he did bring the Lycanroc, which, looking at my team, I kind of under-prepped for a little bit on my end for sure. Yeah, so looking at the team, I think pretty standard Kokolucha sets. I think Coco's probably got Grass Knot for my Mamoswine, but other than that, like T-Bolt, U-Turn, Dazzling Gleam, stuff like that. Lucha doesn't need more than fighting and flying coverage versus me, so he can run High Jump Kick, Drain Punch, Acrobatics, and SD or Bulk Up pretty reliably. Mega Blastoise, thinking pretty standard offensive spinner type Mega Blastoise, Rapid Spin, Dark Pulse, Ice Beam, probably Scald as his last move. Silvally, I don't know. Tyler brought Silvally Water in a prep match, but he didn't bring Mega Blastoise, so I'm definitely expecting it not to be Silvally Water since he's got the Blastoise, but otherwise I'm not really sure what it would be. All I think is that it would have Parting Shot. Kyurem Black could be a couple different things. Choice Scarf is pretty good versus me. A Sub-Roost type Kyurem Black would also be pretty good versus me. Z-Move is just because I do have the Heatran, so if I scout for the Z Sub-Zero Slammer, even if he has Earth Power, I can scout for that as well. Like it's kind of more of a guessing game to bring Z Kyurem Black versus me, so I felt like Scarf or like a bulkier Roost type set made more sense. And then last up, there's the Lycanroc. Because he doesn't have any other options on his team, I am expecting it to be his Stealth Rocker. I'm pegging it more as kind of like a Focus Sash Stealth Rock lead with Endeavor or Cell Rock, maybe Taunt, that kind of thing, or Stone Edge. Pretty standard was what I was thinking with the Lycanroc set in terms of the Focus Sash lead type Stealth Rocking set. Anyways, getting into the match, again, thinking he might be like a Focus Sash lead Lycanroc here. I want to break its Sash without taking off too much of its HP so that it can't really get a fat Endeavor off on my team. I feel like the best way to do that is to lead with my Staraptor, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. Going to lead with Staraptor here, as unfortunately he leads with the Mega Blastoise. So if I had stuck to kind of my original game plan, which was to lead Raikou if I didn't see Nidoqueen and just click Volt Switch, I end up leading with the Staraptor and it cost me a little bit here. Not too much in the sense that I can just U-turn out here and go directly into my Tentacruel. Obviously he's going to stay in here. I don't threaten him too much, especially because he knows I'm not reckless. So I'm going to U-turn out here on the Blastoise, get a little bit of chip damage, and any bit of chip is good for my Mega Arrow in the back. But we're going to switch out here into Tentacruel as he just goes for the Ice Beam turn 1. So decent switch into Tentacruel here, like I mentioned, for Mega Blastoise, and even if he froze me here, I could just go for Scald the following turn to Thaw. But thankfully no freeze, so I can actually click Sludge Bomb here. He doesn't really have a great Sludge Bomb switch in on his team right now, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. Click Sludge Bomb as he goes out into Lycanroc. So like I mentioned, I'm kind of pegging this as a Focus Sash lead type Lycanroc, Endeavor, a Cell Rock, Stealth Rock kind of lead option type Lycanroc. So I'm going to pause it here really quick. So, predicting again that this is kind of a Stealth Rocking variant of Lycanroc, Scald will not KO him from this range. I don't want to Scald him, have him set up Stealth Rocks, and then Endeavor me, because that's just really not a good look for me later in the game. Like, Tentacruel would be basically gone, and he's still got a pretty full Mega Blastoise in the back. So, instead of staying in here to Scald, I'm going to make a hard read on the Stealth Rock and go out into my Mega Aerodactyl, which, as you're about to see here, was unfortunately not the play. So I'm going to go out into my Mega Aerodactyl, and I horribly misread what this Lycanroc was. It's actually a Z Stone Edge Lycanroc with Lycanium Z, and that is absolutely going to blow away my Aerodactyl, which is really, really bad for me, because now just look at Kyurem Black and look at my team. Like, it's not looking good. If he has, like, Earth Power Fusion Bolt, is that all he needs? An Earth Power Fusion Bolt and, like, Ice Beam or Dragon Claw or something? Like, that's a huge problem for my team. So, big misplay on my end, sacking the Aerodactyl. And since I don't have Aura Sphere, I actually can't OHKO this Lycanroc from the range it's at with my Raikou. So I'm going to just Thunderbolt here for damage as he goes for his Stealth Rocks. Again, I'm going to have to get those Stealth Rocks off the field before my Mamo can come in, but I'm pretty confident I can do that. Here I make another misplay. Instead of Volt Switching here, which would have KO'd the Lycanroc anyways, I actually click T-Bolt, and Kyurem Black came in. So I basically just let Kyurem Black in for free for no reason. And again, if I had Aura Sphere, like, so much better of a situation here with the Kyurem Black and with the Lycanroc. But I'm just going to Volt Switch out here on the Kyurem Black. get a little bit more chip damage, and I'm basically going to decide to sack off my Staraptor to defog away these rocks. I do get the Intimidate off on Kyurem, which is nice, as he does show the Dragon Claw. So that's like part 1 of Scary Kyurem set is sitting right in front of me now with Dragon Claw. So I'm going to defog here, as he is unfortunately also Roost Kyurem Black, so he's going to be able to roost up here on my defog, and since I'm Choice Scarf, I can't even switch up moves or anything to sack off the Staraptor here, and I don't want to sit in here if he's got like Substitute. I don't want to sit in here and just spam defog at him, so I'm going to go out to my Tentacruel here and eat a fat Dragon Claw. Obviously, since he's intimidated, it doesn't do too much, but now I really don't have a whole lot of options. I could sack Staraptor here, or I could set up a Toxic Spike. Basically, I'm realizing at this point in the game, my only way of breaking this Kyurem Black is if it's poisoned, so I have to somehow force it out, but also get it to come in on these Toxic Spikes. So I set up a T-Spike, as he goes for the Fusion Bolt and does a massive amount of damage to me. I set up the T-Spike here just so that if I can force this Kyurem Black out later in the game, he'll at least come in and take poison damage and prevent him, or not prevent him from roofing on me, but at least punish him for it. And here I'm just going to decide to sack off my Staraptor, get off another Intimidate here. Maybe that'll be enough to incentivize him out. I've only seen 3 of his moves at this point, but if that last move is Earth Power, I am in huge trouble. So here I've got a couple options, but I don't want to break my Mamo's Focus Sash here. I feel like I kind of have to go out to Heat Ran and basically pray that he doesn't have Earth Power. If he has Earth Power, I basically lose. So here he goes out into Silvally Poison and eats up the Toxic Spike. So really good prep on his part, bringing the Silvally Poison as I go for Lava Plume here, just hoping for a burn, basically. He brings out the Silvally Poison, eats up my T-Spike. I'm certain he's going to Parting Shot here, but I really can't switch in any way that punishes that. So I'm just going to go for Stealth Rock here as he goes for the Parting Shot. At least I'll be able to get a little bit of chip damage on the Kyurem coming back in and on the rest of his team. He likes to go out to Blastoise here. I'm pretty sure he's just going to go for Rapid Spin right now, which at least gives me an opportunity to get back out into my Tentacruel. And even if he doesn't Rapid Spin, maybe I can at least keep those Stealth Rocks up. So as he goes out into Blastoise here, he actually reveals that he has Surf, which is also unfortunate for me in this situation, because if he had Scald, as long as he didn't burn me, I actually live 2. But now, since he has Surf, you saw I did 20% there, I'm not going to live a second one. So I'm just going to go for Sludge Bomb, get a little bit more chip on this Blastoise. If he Rapid Spins, he Rapid Spins, but then I live another Surf. So I'm just going to die to the second Surf here, which at least means that he's not going to get to spin this turn, because now I can go out to my Raikou, and I should essentially be able to claim a KO with Volt Switch here. If he goes out into Kyurem Black again, he's taking Rocks damage, he's taking Volt Switch damage. I can go out into Heat Ran. I'm pretty certain he doesn't have Earth Power now that he switched out on me, but he's just going to sack off the Blastoise there. So I've got a couple options here. I could go back out into Heat Ran if I want to, or I could go out into Mamoswine. I decided to go out into Mamoswine just to try and deter Tapu Koko from coming in if I can. But he goes out into Koko anyways, so this is basically screaming at me that he has Grass Knot, or he's just going to U-turn out into Hawlucha. Either way, my best play here is to go out into my Heatran. Heatran can at least roar out the Hawlucha, or takes a Grass Knot very well. As you can see, he does have the Grass Knot, and I chew that up. So Heatran comes out here, and now I'm going to pause it once more, because here's another kind of big play. I'm way in the back, right? I'm down 5-3 in Mons right now. Hawlucha's a huge threat. Kyurem Black's a huge threat. Even this Koko's a pretty big threat right now, because I know it has Grass Knot. So here, you don't sack Koko for sure to an Earth Power. So I think your likely sack here is Lycanroc. It's at 14%. I'm thinking he'd sack Lycanroc here. It doesn't outspeed my Raikou anyways. And then Ice Shard from Mamo could pick it off. So I'm like, oh, okay, if he's going to sack Lycanroc, I need to make a play here, and I need to get kind of lucky, essentially. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to Roar, predicting the Lycanroc sack. If he goes Lycanroc, he takes the chip damage from Stealth Rock, gets roared back out, and can't come in again later in the game, because it dies upon entry after that. And then if I roar him out into like Kyurem Black or something, I can roar again the following turn and get more chip damage off on his team, or I can just straight up attack the Kyurem Black, try and chip it down and get it in range of my Raikou with Terrain up, as kind of a secondary option. Basically, roaring into anything that's not Hawlucha would be good for me. It's good chip for me in the long course of the match here. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to click Roar as he goes for Volt Switch and does a ton of damage, by the way. This is max HP Heatran, but there's no Spadef investment, so it does a lot of damage to me with Volt Switch there, as he actually goes and sacks a Silvally instead. So I didn't really identify that Silvally didn't do too much to me at that point in the match. So the Roar, I guess, is a little bit of a misplay in the end, but like I mentioned, I kind of felt like I had to make that play, and double, unfortunately, I get out the Hawlucha. So Basically, I have to sack Heatran right here. I think because I just showed Roar, I don't think you ever SD or bulk up or whatever here. I think you just attack me, but I should live a Drain Punch as I do. And I'm just going to go for Lava Plume. Hope to get a burn on him so that my Raikou won't have to take too much damage revenge killing this. I'd prefer not to revenge kill this thing with Mamoswine here because I need Mamoswine to kill the Koko, and I need my Sash to be intact to do that. So I'm going to Lava Plume here, don't get the burn on the Kokolucha, and here I just click Roar in case he decides to be cheeky and try to set up. But his best play is just to knock me out. I'm down to 2 Mons now. It's still theoretically possible, but it's going to be pretty difficult. I'm going to go out into Raikou here and just click Volt Switch. Volt Switch should claim me another KO here on the Kokolucha. And he's probably just going to stay in to get some chip damage off on me, which he does. He goes for Drain Punch and does a pretty sizable chunk of damage to me as I go for Volt Switch and KO this Kokolucha. So at this point, like, yeah, I would like to win, but I'm mostly playing for differential here if I can get it. So I'll play for the win, but I want the KOs for the most part. So I'm going to Volt Switch out here into Mamoswine. I guess I could have stayed in and T-bolted there. Probably would have been the better play. But I Volt Switch out into Mamo here, and basically I just didn't want to let the Kyurem Black in at that point. So he goes out into Koko again. I'm pretty sure he's going to Grass Knot, and I make a pretty big misplay here. Not as big as sacking the Aerodactyl, but I make a misplay here and go hard Raikou. I didn't really think Grass Knot would do this much damage to me. I was kind of hoping I could live Grass Knot plus another move, and I didn't calc. So Grass Knot's obviously doing way too much to me there for me to live anything but a light breeze from this Tapu Koko. He's going to knock me out with Dazzling Gleam. And I basically just sacked off my Raikou for no reason. Like, there was a theoretical win condition for Raikou in the back if Mamoswine could remove this Tapu Koko. But I just sacked it off for no reason, because Mamo's got to come back out here anyways and click Earthquake on the Tapu Koko as he Grass Knots me to bring me down to my Focus Sash. It turns out he is in fact Shukaberry Tapu Koko, so he is going to live this Earthquake from this range. Which, you know, isn't such a huge deal because I do have Ice Shard to pick off the Koko. He's at 9%, he should die, and he really should not switch out. That would be a huge throw on his end to switch out into anything here to try and save differential or anything like that. So he's just going to let the Koko go down, and my only hope, like, Mamoswine theoretically can do it depending on the speed investment of his Silvally and his Kyurem Black, but my real only hope is if this Lycanroc does not have a Cellurock. Because he goes out into it, I'm pretty sure he does, and he does in fact have it. So GG to Lunar. He picks up the 3-0 victory. He played really well, prepped really well. Definitely no complaints on that end. I thought he played the match pretty solidly overall and definitely deserved the W. On my end, I definitely misidentified what this Lycanroc was. Sacked the Arrow way too early. Arrow would have been really useful to have in the late game for sure. Sacked it way too early. Could just stayed in with Tentacruel and Scalded there. I actually would have eaten that Lycanium Z because I was max defense and gotten off some big Scald damage. So really unfortunate that I sacked the Arrow there. I think overall I definitely prepped a little too hard for Kokolucha and overlooked some other aspects of the matchup, specifically Lycanroc. And hopefully we get another chance to meet in playoffs. We're both 4-1 now, so we're in decent position to make it there. And then hopefully I can prep a little better, play a little better, and show that I should have at least given a better game than I did this time. So thank you guys very much for watching to this point. If you did, GG again to Lunar. Hope you guys stick around for another video. Have a good one. Bye-bye.